Here are 10 of the most overlooked symptoms of burnout in highly sensitive people and why they often go unnoticed. The first one, and these are in no particular order, the first one is that you're constantly tired, even after rest. This is a clear signal that rest alone isn't quite what you're needing. You need something more. And when your energy doesn't bounce back, it's a sign that there may be some burnout going on. It's easily missed because you can think that everyone's tired, like it's normal, right, in our busy world. And you can start thinking, oh, that's just the way it is. And many highly sensitive people actually get used to functioning in a kind of low-grade state of depletion. They kind of normalize it. But this shouldn't be ignored because the right kind of rest, when you get real deep rest, resets the nervous system and it provides the basis for everything you do. Whereas burnout quietly undermines your ability to function and your joy in life. Meditation is a great support in this way. There are many kinds of meditations, and they all basically point in the same direction of rest. And meditation, the rest in meditation is different than the rest in sleep, and it can be super helpful. I practice transcendental meditation. It's amazing. I've been enjoying it since I was a kid. And I can literally, at the end of the day, be exhausted, sit down to meditate, and 20 minutes later feel like my energy is back up and full again. So meditation is something definitely to keep in mind for deep rest. So another sign that burnout is maybe on the way or beginning for you is you start to feel like small things are overwhelming. Small sounds, little sound. Now you've heard it before and it is a little annoying, but now it's really annoying. Or having to make decisions, it's getting on your nerves, or interruptions are bugging you more than usual. In other words, your threshold has been lowered, and that just lets you know that your system is getting maxed out. And it's easy to miss this because you may just think, oh, I'm too sensitive, you may even try to overcompensate and try to push harder to prove that you're capable. But really what's going on is that your threshold is getting reached, and it's good to pay attention to it. It shouldn't be ignored because if you don't, and this is like a red flag, if you don't, then the crashes just become bigger the longer you delay getting rest. Another sign is that you feel emotionally numb or flat. And this can point towards overwhelm because usually as HSPs, we're very emotional people. We have a rich inner life. And if you feel detached or blank, it may be like, it just can be a good sign to notice. And you can miss this as being a sign of overwhelm a sign of burnout because you may think that it's some kind of a calm, like you may confuse numbness for calmness. Numbness is not the same as calmness. Peace is awake, it's alert, but it's calm. Whereas numbness is kind of like asleep, and it looks calm, but it's kind of dead. And so you may even fool yourself thinking, oh, I'm getting better, I'm feeling better because, I'm not reacting as much. But it may be actually your system shutting down and saying, I'm having to go offline because I can't handle anything. So it can be a sign that there's a little bit of burnout beginning. And this shouldn't be ignored because numbness is not peace. And it's like calling out saying, we need rest. We need to shut down. We need to look at what's going on, whether it's something deeper emotionally that needs to be dealt with, or it's some kind of lifestyle change that needs to be changed. So a fourth sign that burnout may be happening is that you start snapping or withdrawing from loved ones. This happens so easily when your energy gets down, when you get consistently pushed, and you may kind of snap at people. You may snap at yourself. It's this irritability that naturally comes out. It's like the heart is no longer fluid. It no longer has this energy or joy in it. And then it sees everything through that point of view. You may miss this as a sign of burnout because you may think, oh, I'm just being moody, or maybe I'm too sensitive. And you may even think that your reactions are something like a character flaw instead of seeing them as the signs of stress. This is always a fine point for highly sensitive people. We are sensitive, and a lot of times people associate sensitivity with stress. They're not the same thing. They're not the same thing at all. But when you confuse the two, you may start thinking that it's something to do with you rather than just a sign that you're overwhelmed. And the fifth sign that you may be dealing with some burnout is you start feeling guilty for needing alone time, especially if you're needing rest. And you may feel shame or guilt about taking the rest that you need. And this is easily missed because we often think that taking up space for yourself is selfish, or that we as HSPs are excessive in our needs for rest and alone time. And so we may compare ourselves to other people around us that don't need as much and then feel bad about it. And that guilt can drown out this signal that the body's saying, hey, I need some rest. Please, I need some rest. And if you don't deal with it, then what happens is you don't get the rest, the burnout continues, and then on top of that, you start feeling resentment, and you may start getting emotional burnout as well because you're not able to give yourself what you want or what you need in your environment. Another sign of burnout is your creativity dries up. HSPs thrive on inspiration. We love meaning and depth and creativity. And often our sense of purpose is linked to creativity. And so if that is missing, if that dries up, then that's a real sign that something's off. We should look at this because this is not normal for us. It's easy to kind of put this aside and think, oh, well, maybe I'm not trying hard enough, or maybe there's something, it's just going to pass or something like that. But oftentimes it needs to really be given the attention to say, what's going on? How can I readjust my lifestyle so that I have more joy in my life? Another sign of burnout is you start people-pleasing more than usual. And this is something that is hard for HSPs anyway. We tend to be aware of everyone else's emotions and we tend to want peace and all that. And so we get into other people's business. And when you're stressed, you will tend to do that more. And it becomes more of a desperate thing. It's not so much of a balanced thing. And so it can be a sign. And if you catch it, then you can just be aware that maybe what really I need is some restorative time for myself instead of getting caught into somebody else's dramas. Another sign of burnout that may be subtle is that you feel like everything you do is too much or not enough. In other words, you start judging yourself. Your inner critic gets louder and you start to have self-doubt. So you can discount this and think, oh, it's not really burnout. This is just I've always felt this way. So you may think, oh, that's just my personality. But even though HSPs can get into self-doubt, when it worsens, it's just a sign that you're getting further and further away from yourself and from balance. And it's something to pay attention to. And number 9, for reasons for why or how you can detect burnout in yourself is if you notice that you're keeping on fantasizing about escaping. Like you're starting to think about that vacation or that one time, if I could just get away, or if I could just have a day alone, in a library or something like that. These fantasies are telling you something. Like it's not just restlessness. It's not just a romantic idea here. It could be a cry for help saying, hey, I can't do this anymore. And you may need to reassess and look at how can I give myself some downtime? It doesn't have to be a huge vacation, but it has to be something. And finally, number 10, the reason why or it's not reason why, but a sign that you may be dealing with burnout is that even the things you love start to feel heavy. And so things that you actually love, your hobbies, your sacred routines, projects, if they start feeling like chores, then it's time to pause and it's time to not push harder. This is not necessarily disinterest. It could just be depletion. You don't have enough juice now to sustain what you're doing. And so even things that you love aren't sustainable if you're tired. So how do you tell the difference between everyday exhaustion and burnout? Everyday exhaustion is similar. It feels tired, it feels heavy, but it's caused by a specific thing. Think of like if you had a poor sleep or a long day or some kind of emotional stress, you can still bounce back. And it just takes a good night's sleep or some rest. You still feel interest or motivation. You're not like wanting to get away completely. You can still find small joys. You may still enjoy music or conversation or food and your energy returns after downtime. And so just a weekend can make a huge difference. But burnout, on the other hand, is more chronic. It's cumulative depletion, physical, emotional, mental, and rest alone doesn't fix it. Even with sleep, you may still feel exhausted. Motivation may be gone, not just delayed, but just can't get it back anymore. You may feel emotionally flat or numb or easily overwhelmed. Your joy or creativity and connection feel like they're out of reach. And again, you fantasize about escape or quitting or disappearing, and you may feel stuck in a kind of shame or guilt or resentment. So, for example, if you take a week off and then you come back just as tired, disconnected, and unmotivated as before, your body rested maybe, but your system didn't really reset. And so that's a sign there that it's something deeper. It's burnout. And what's a simple way to begin reversing burnout, even if your plate is very full? This is always the challenge because taking time to rest means taking things off your plate a lot of times. And where can you begin? Just get moving in that direction. I think the key is to start with micro rest, not necessarily a full day off, not necessarily overhauling your schedule, just little pockets of rest woven into your current life. It could be as little as a 90-second reset. Just close your eyes, breathe deeply, feel your feet, no phone, no fixing, just being. Or you could just take a pause and build it into your day. Just one pause per day. Maybe you just take time to sip some tea or just step outside, be in nature, lie down with no agenda, or let your body feel like it's off duty. Even for like 5 minutes, once a day can make a difference where you start feeling like there's some leisure time in your life, not just work, 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 work. Another one you can do is to have a rule for a little while where it's like no more yes. You can't say yes immediately for a week. And just instead you can say, let me get back to you, or give me some time to think about that. And then you can check in with your energy before responding. And then finally, another thing that can just help you is to name what's draining you. Write down one thing that added some silent stress in your life recently. Maybe it's a commitment, a belief, a task. And you don't have to solve it, but just see it clearly. And by seeing it, it creates space. And of course, I love the work of Byron Katie. So if you can name what's draining you, you can also question the thought that you have, the stressful belief that you have. And often that can really change your perspective and open things up. Remember that burnout thrives on uninterrupted depletion. And so if you can take small breaks, then you can cut this vicious cycle and begin to find balance again. Just turning the ship 1 degree already starts to move it in a new direction.